Hi guys, my name is Ryan Thomas. This is my YouTube channel, Mr. RyGuy92. The majority of the stuff I post on here consists of Ultimate Fighting Championship event previews. I also preview a lot of NFL, big NFL games like the Super Bowl, which is out right now. You can check that out on my channel. My prediction for the Seattle Seahawks versus the Denver Broncos. Check that out when you get the chance. I just recently posted another video about Mike Pettin leaving the Buffalo Bills to become the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns, where I think that will put Buffalo defensively and all that stuff. The reason why I'm wearing this god-awful headset is I am posting this, displaying this on iTunes, on my iTunes podcast that is also known as Mr. RyGuy92's channel, Ryan Thomas. That is my name, and this YouTube video and this podcast is dedicated to UFC 169, and it's going to be a mixed martial arts event that the UFC will be putting out that has 2 title fights on it, which has become a rarity for the UFC to have 2 title fights on a pay-per-view event. The first one, the first title fight, is the co-main event, headlined by featherweight champion Jose Aldo. The challenger will be Ricardo Lamas. That is for the 145-pound belt. And the main event will be between Renan Barão, the newly promoted bantamweight champion. He was a long-time interim bantamweight champion while he was waiting for Dominick Cruz to return from that horrific ACL injury. That fight was supposed to happen on this card, the Dominick Cruz Renan Barão champion versus champion match, but unfortunately Dominick Cruz got hurt again, tearing his groin, and UFC President Dana White then stripped Dominick Cruz of that bantamweight belt, promoting Renan Barão as the world heavyweight, or as the world bantamweight champion. And now he puts his belt on the line against former title challenger Uriah Faber, and once again title challenger Uriah Faber. One of my favorite fighters by far, and I'm going to give you my prediction on 3 fights. There's 3 fights, those 2 fights, and another one that I find to be very interesting, a heavyweight battle between Frank Mir, former UFC heavyweight champion and title contender, and Alistair Overeem, former Strikeforce heavyweight champion and former K1 Global heavyweight champion. I think that fight will be very, very interesting between Mir and Overeem, and that's where I'm going to start. My prediction between Mir and Overeem, these are 2 guys that go toe-to-toe. Mir, more of a submission artist, but Overeem no slouch in the submission area as well, as he has recorded about 40% of his finishes from submissions, and the majority of his fights don't go the distance. He either gets knocked out, knocks someone else out, he either gets submitted or submits somebody else. So I don't see this fight going to the distance at all unless these guys look very washed up going into the ring, and during the fight they look like they have taken too much punishment throughout their careers. Then that might be a situation where they look beat up and overly trained and just too old to be even in there. But given the fact that Overeem had all this hype around him going into the UFC, he was supposed to be a really big deal, and so far he has been anything but. His only win in the UFC is against Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar was not a highly touted opponent at that time due to the fact that Lesnar had diverticulitis, which was a pretty ferocious disease that Lesnar had to deal with over the later years of his career in the UFC. And then he loses to Bigfoot Silva, and there was a lot of trash talk in that fight as to who was going to win that. Then he loses to Travis Brown, who is now a top 3 heavyweight alongside Fabricio Verdum. Them 2 right there will be fighting against each other to deliver who will be the next challenger to Cain Velasquez's heavyweight title. But focusing on this fight, Frank Mir versus Alistair Overeem, I think Frank Mir will win, and that sounds crazy given the fact that he has looked pretty sluggish in his last few performances, but so has Overeem. I think Frank Mir has more tools to winning the fight. I think that his submission skills are ferocious, and Overeem will not be able to handle it, and I see Frank Mir winning it actually by submission. The second fight that I'm going to predict, the co-main event, which pits featherweight champion Jose Aldo versus newly touted challenger Ricardo Lamas. Not too many people know a lot about Ricardo Lamas if you're not a hardcore MMA fan like myself, but Lamas is a finisher. Majority of fights that I've seen him in, he finishes fights, and it's going to be a very interesting battle between Jose Aldo and Lamas because Lamas comes out swinging as the fight starts, and Jose has never really dealt with a guy like that, guy that is not afraid to go toe to toe with someone of the high caliber striking that Jose Aldo possesses, and that in itself makes the fight interesting. But bar none, I think any of us could say that are hardcore MMA fans, Jose Aldo is the greatest featherweight to ever live, and there is no argument about that. Winning his title in the WEC back in those days, and still cementing his legacy today as the UFC featherweight champion, and that happened because the UFC and the WEC merged, and because Aldo was the featherweight champion in that organization, he immediately became the featherweight champion in the UFC, and he has not let go of that belt, given the opposition that he's facing guys like Kenny Florian and Frankie Edgar and Chad Mendez, to name three guys right there. Korean Zombie, his last victory. That is not easy competition at all, to say the least. Those four guys, definite, rank among the best in the UFC's featherweight division, and even among the lower weight classes, those four fighters would stand out in anyone's rankings. But I do see Ricardo Lamas giving Jose Aldo a good run. I see the fight going 2-3 rounds, and going into the fourth round, I think Aldo will show his killer instinct and win the fight via knockout. Fourth round knockout for Jose Aldo. Now to the main event. This is where things are going to get real tricky, as Renan Barão and Uriah Faber will be going up against each other for that bantamweight title, and Barão has already come up with a victory against Faber to win the interim bantamweight title. Faber was not able to close the deal, and unfortunately, Barão won. But I see things in that fight going much differently. I see it as a very close fight, but I think Faber has looked incredible in this last year and a half, almost 2 years now, since that fight, winning 4 fights in 2013 against guys that are in the top. McDonald he beat. I'm drawing blanks here. McDonald he beat most recently, very convincing. He actually knocked McDonald down and then was able to come up with a submission. And Uriah is 36-1, I believe, or maybe just 30-6, but the losses are to guys like Jose Aldo and to guys like Dominic Cruz and to guys like Renan Barão. That's 3 of his losses right there. And I see Uriah definitely coming out swinging in this next fight. He knows that this could possibly be his last title opportunity. He beats guys like Michael McDonald, Yuri Alcantara, Scotty Jurgensen on a short notice fight, and Ivan Menjivar are his last 4 wins. After his loss to Dominic Cruz, he beat Brian Bowles via submission. The only fight that went to a decision was the one against Alcantara, who was a tough test for him in Boston, Massachusetts, on the UFC Fight Night Shogun versus Sonnen card. But I definitely see Uriah as a new Uriah Faber 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever you'd want to call it. I know that this is his last, might be his last opportunity in quite some time for quite some time to get a shot at another UFC belt, and I don't see Uriah squandering this opportunity. I'm going to predict Faber for the fight versus Renan Barão. I don't discredit Renan Barão at all. I think that Barão is a great fighter, and if Barão does win this fight, I think that he is one of the top 3 pound for pound in the world, maybe number 2 or 3 now that Anderson Silva is out of the mix, and so is George St. Pierre. The UFC needs new superstars. And I see Renan Barão being one of them if he does pull off this fight. But if Uriah wins it, then he's one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the UFC, coming off of 5 straight wins in a row. Uriah is in the best shape he's ever been, even dating back to his days in the WEC. So there you have it. I got Faber beating Renan Barão. I think it'll be a 4th-round submission or maybe a 5th-round submission by Faber. I have Jose Aldo beating Ricardo Lamas via 4th-round TKO or knockout. And I have Frank Mir winning via 2nd-round submission over Alistair Overeem. There you have it, guys. Those are my 3 major fight predictions for UFC 169, which takes place on Super Bowl weekend, Saturday, February 1st. Really got high expectations for this card. 2 title fights in one night. That is a rarity lately for the UFC, and I'm really excited for that card. You guys check it out. Let me know what you think of my predictions, and let me know who your favorite UFC fighters to watch are. And I will talk to you guys all day long on YouTube, my channel, Mr. Ryguy92, MrRYGUY 92, on YouTube and iTunes. Thanks, guys.